Good afternoon and welcome to the second of our three programmes from Farnborough International 90. It's been dubbed the greatest show off Earth. It most certainly is the premier showcase for the world aerospace industry. Tens of thousands of people have come here on this beautiful day. It's the final day of Farnborough, and of course the traffic jams are notorious. The consumption of gin and tonic down in these business chalets quite legendary. And we have spectacular aerial action for you. Also in this show, we'll be taking a detailed look at the first year of the 747-400, a giant airliner which does seem to have had some big problems. We'll also take you on a test flight over the Arizona desert in an MD-11. And we have those first exclusive pictures of Frank Robinson's very latest helicopter, the R-44, a four-seater. And there'll be more about the giant Soviet lady behind me, the Antonov. But of course, at this Farnborough, all conversations have been about the Gulf crisis. The Tornado was the first Royal Air Force type to be sent to the Gulf in its fighter version, the F-3. And this type, the ground attack GR1, has just been dispatched to join the Allied Air Forces in the capable hands of 617 Squadron, which won World War II fame as the Dam Busters. John, what's the main role for the Tornado?
Well, the primary mission for the F-3 and RAF service is the confrontation of any mass Soviet bomber attack across the North Sea or Atlantic approaches. Considerable modifications have had to be made to prepare the fighter for the radical change from a declining Cold War in a cold climate to an escalating and highly inflammable test of nerves in the desert. The Tornado project has been severely dented by the onward march of east-west détente. In June, the Ministry of Defence cancelled orders for 33.
Now here is an excellent example of controlled flight. And the Mark I Kestrel is about to make way for the Fighting Falcon. This aircraft is in the front line for the US Air Force in the Gulf and in service with many nations in NATO and around the world. One of the most maneuverable of the current crop of combat aircraft, the fly-by-wire Falcon is an impressive performer at high and low speeds. With its shark's mouth air intake and tight turning radius, the F-16 has been an air display star for much of the past decade, although it is largely eclipsed these days by the novelty of those sprightly newcomers from the Soviet Union, the MiG-29 and the Sukhoi 27, of which we have more later. In a variety of versions, the F-16 has matured into a true dogfighter from early days as a lightweight combat jet bred with export sales in mind.
Although Iraq's Air Force boasts more than 60 Mirage F-1s equipped with Exocet missiles, it does not have any of these powerful beasts. The Mirage 2000 is a highly advanced interceptor with top speed in excess of Mark II and a sophisticated fly-by-wire computerized control system. Other versions include a two-seat trainer and a penetration type, also with two seats, called the 2000N. Which can deliver a standoff nuclear missile. Prime customer for the jet is the French Armée de l'Air, for which it was designed.
Big passenger jets are not present physically here at Farnborough, but they are in spirit as markets are battled for the next generation behind the scenes. However, making a passing salute at the show is this Boeing 747-400 of Australia's Quantas. It's the jet with the longest reach in the business, and this one holds the distance record of London to Sydney non-stop, fulfilling the impossible dream. In command was Captain David Massey-Green, the airline's 747-400 project pilot.
The main thing was to get the aeroplane capable of range, because the nominal full range of the aeroplane is 7,900 miles, and we wanted to fly at 9,700. And I must say, I thought they were crazy when I first mentioned it, but gradually realized it was possible. And the main things we had to do was to plan to pare as much weight out of the aeroplane as we possibly could. and yet keep it in service trim. And by that I mean that we didn't want to take any seats out. We're only going to have 23 people on board, or 20 was the original plan. And we paired every ounce, literally, that we could from the aeroplane. We didn't carry any more water than we had to carry for the flight. The final thing was to get enough, some high-density fuel and produce a very special brew that in fact met the Jet A1 specification.
So in fact, it's unrealistic to imagine that a 747-400 could operationally fly non-stop London to Sydney.
No, absolutely no way. It's one of those things that happens in aviation from time to time, that we demonstrate to the manufacturers and to the public that these sort of things can be done. And it becomes an ideal to aim for the future. After all, there is really only one way to go from A to B, and that's direct.
How long did the flight take?
20 hours and 9 minutes. And 5 seconds.
That's a long...
The last 5 seconds was a long one.
British Airways is now the 747-400's biggest customer, and they're becoming a familiar sight outside Heathrow's Terminal 4. In July, it doubled its original order to 42 in a deal worth nearly £4 billion, BA's largest ever commitment to a new aircraft.
Speedbird 219, clear takeoff 27 left, the wind is westerly at 8.
Takeoff, Speedbird 219.
November 161, Echo uniform.
On figure say...
Thank you, Echo uniform. After the City Fellowship departs, line up 27 left.
After the...
Airlines are still adapting to its quirks and capabilities. But how does it vary from other jumbo jets? And what's been learned in its first full year of service? Captain Alan Robinson is chief pilot of BA's 747-400's, backbone of the long-haul fleet.
This aeroplane is really a brand new aeroplane. Many of us think it shouldn't have been called a 747 at all. In many ways, it is very different from the classic 747. And this is going to see us well into the 21st century. The basic airframe is, I suppose, going to go on for a very long time. It's got a new wing, has a wider wingspan, and it has much more efficient engines. And of course, it's got all of the electronics which take it into the 21st century. It makes a dramatic difference to the operating of the airplane, and the use of electronics and computers means that we can actually fly the airplane with two crew, and that's probably the most significant difference. It does mean that you actually have to approach the job in a slightly different manner. Computers there to help you, provides a lot of information, a great deal of information which we never had in the past. We still have the old-fashioned mechanical instruments. Here they are, the old-fashioned artificial horizon, which is now duplicated electronically, and the airspeed indicator, and the altimeter. They've now all moved on to this instrument here, and this is an altimeter, a tape altimeter, and this is an airspeed indicator. But we'd have to lose an immense number of systems before we got down to these. We've now got a flight deck with only 2 men instead of 3 on the classic 747. I don't believe that this is a disadvantage. The systems have actually provided us with a lot of monitoring, which a function the third man performed. In addition, a lot of the fuel transfer functions and the actual systems handling, which were formerly dealt with by the engineer, are now handled automatically by the systems. We have some absolutely beautiful displays which show us the way the fuel progresses through the airplane, and we can handle all of that ourselves with very little input. Messages will come up and warn us if the fuel transfer is required. In addition, the actual checklist is a lot shorter, certainly a lot more compact than that which you see on most light aircraft. It's all meant a reduction in the workload such that a 2-man crew can handle it.
It's not only the flight deck that's been given the upgraded treatment. The cabin has been fine-tuned for passenger comfort and service efficiency, using suggestions from cabin crew themselves. The stretched upper deck is new to BA. It's adapted it as an additional category of service not first or business, but for economy class passengers paying full rather than discount fares. Larger baggage bins are another important feature, and while passengers are pampered, entertained and doze through flights of up to 14 hours duration, off-duty crew can also relax in their own sleeping quarters. The computer never sleeps, and its initial over-vigilance caused a number of problems, interfering with controls, producing disruptive power surges, and refusing to start engines, causing some captains to wonder if it wasn't a threat to their command.
I think that's a very important point to get across to all pilots flying any aeroplane, that they have the ultimate control of the aeroplane. And if things do go wrong, then back to basics. This aeroplane can be flown basics just the same as any other aircraft. We've got a control column and throttles. We've got all the good old engine instruments, and we've got the instruments here. And indeed, we've got the old mechanical instruments, which you can always use at the end of the day. But I think the right stuff's still there, absolutely. But you can find it at playing video games at home, you know, on your home computer.
We'll have more about the civil airliners later on in the show. It's a beautiful afternoon here at Farnborough. Welcome to our second report, live from this marvellous place. There's over 300,000 people been through the gates over the last 8 days. 70,000 is the gate for today, I've just heard. It's a public day. And if you look around, you will see the presence of the Americans and the Russians. Just over there, the Antonov is looking very snooty with its nose up. And just coming into land, we've got the Sukhoi 27. The Sukhoi 26, which is about to display here this afternoon, is flown by the first female Russian pilot to display at Farnborough, Natalia Sergeyeva. She's married to a former pilot of MiG-17s. I only mention that because he's now a cab driver in Moscow. So if you hail a taxi in Moscow, you could be in for quite a ride. Don't, by the way, write off the British aerospace industry because the Russians and the Americans are so strong. We account for a third of Western Europe's business. But now, on to a more familiar shape, the BAC 111, but with some different engines.
The Rolls-Royce Tay engine has given the old BAC 111 a new lease on life. World famous for having a very tough hide, it's an airframe which can go on, and with the help of the Tay, probably will. Re-engineing is the work of the D. Hard Company of San Antonio, Texas, and it reduces fuel burn by 17%, whilst increasing range by 20%. With 230 sold, it's Britain's most successful passenger jet.
Well, this is the aircraft which took the 111's crown. The British Aerospace 146 is now Britain's best-selling jet, having just topped the 300 order mark this week, with a mix of 8 orders and options from Italy's Alisada. This is the 200 version, one of a family of 13 types carrying the 146 name. And this aircraft is operated by the rising regional carrier Crossair of Switzerland, where it is known by the affectionate nickname Jumbelina.
At first, the airline industry doubted the worth of a 4-engine jet, carrying only around 100 passengers. And yes, the economists had the same doubts about Concorde. The more engines, the higher cost runs the airline theory. But in this case, they overlooked the power that gives it the short takeoff and landing ability, which allows it to serve airports other jets cannot reach.
It looks as if this aircraft, the Jetstream 31, is set to break the sales record established by the old power queen of the skies, the Viscount, which notched up 440 orders. This, of course, is a turboprop, 19-seat pressurized passenger craft, which has cornered 50% of the world market. And the Jetstream 31 now has 80% of the important commuter feeder market in the USA.
Farnborough is also about aerobatics, and when it comes to that, nobody does it better than the Pit Special, particularly in the hands of pilot Alan Wade.
I'm just initially climbing away now, the crowd behind us, into the display area, starting with the main manoeuvre. The main Lomschbach starts with a vertical roll to the left, and an outside negative flick, and then into the Lomschbach. Vertical roll, bringing us back out on line, flying it down very low level into wind. Multiple roll, diving 45, 3 rolls in just over 3 seconds, flying down into the turbulence, a bit bumpy. Check the wingtips are level, feeling about 8G, feeling very, very heavy in the seat. Suddenly the G disappears, goes negative, floating sensation, trying to keep the horizon in sight, trying to keep orientation, very floating, lifting out of the seat sensation as we push over the top. Checking wings vertical, looking up to the torque roll. Multiple flicks on the diving 45, 1, 2, 3. Flying down at a very low level. Pulling up from 50 feet. Climbing 45.
I understand how he flies the thing, but how does he know where he is? I might have just the gadget for him, because of course Farnborough is all about gadgets. You can get everything from a vacuum-controlled toilet to a guided missile with a nuclear head on it, and both have been selling quite well, I understand. Julian Tutt, however, has been out looking for the ace device for any private pilot who keeps getting lost.
Here we have Mapper. On this small electronic display, there's a flashing cursor in the middle of the screen which shows us our present position. So at the moment we're stationary at Farnborough. When we take off, the cursor will move to show us our exact position over the ground. The other information on the main display shows surrounding airfields with their height above sea level. So Odium here is at 410 feet. It'll show all controlled airspace up to 3,000 feet and things like military air traffic control zones, which we can just about see here around RAF Odium. It'll also show the radio navigation beacons like VOR and NDB with their relevant frequencies. And then there's more important information down the right-hand side, including current track and ground speed, our latitude and longitude, and the 4 nearest diversionary airfields. It currently uses Decca transmissions, although will convert to satellite inputs in the future. By selecting the menu page, you can also program up to 100 flight plans. The complete equipment includes a 20 pounds battery pack and aerials similar to a car radio's, and it all costs about £3,000. Farnborough is a vast aeroplane showroom. So what can the private pilots find in the light aircraft market? If you fancy a sporty aerobatic type, the popular Slingsby T-67M Firefly fits the bill for a mere £120,000. The Firefly is an amazingly agile aircraft stressed to a tolerance of +6 to -3 G, and the engine is modified to give untroubled inverted flying. Top speed is around 200 miles per hour. It's a 2-seater plastic composite aeroplane, and it's made in Yorkshire. More sedate and at £85,000 more affordable, this is the Socata TB10 Tobago, a French-built 4-seater. It's a popular club aircraft and is powered by a 180 horsepower Lycoming engine, producing a cruising speed of just over 140 mph. For the business executive with a spare £750,000 lying around, the 330 mph TBM 700 on show here for the first time is just the job. In spite of being single-engined, it boasts airliner performance with its Pratt & Whitney PT6 turboprop engine and can actually be flown by a basic private pilot. Insurance might be a problem though, and owner-operators are strongly advised to undergo a full conversion course in order to properly harness the performance of that 950 horsepower engine. If you're a Porsche driver at heart, then this is the flying equivalent. Introducing the Chichester Miles Leopard. This is the prototype with NPT turbojet engines, which once powered radio-controlled pilotless target drones for the military. An unusual feature on the Leopard are the tailerons, which control it in roll as well as pitch, so the main wings have no flying control surfaces. The developers of the Leopard boast that it offers the same performance as a Learjet at 1/5 its size and 1/5 its cost. However, with all the optional extras, it will still set you back about £500,000.
After the champagne flavour of the Leopard lifestyle, to the real thing. This is the luxury-laced world of MGM Grand Air, which operates 3 upgraded and hush-kitted DC-8s between Los Angeles and New York. Although the aircraft are 20 years old, they've been completely refurbished, inside and out, in a $55 million development program, in the true Hollywood style of the airline's parent company, MGM United Artists. It's aimed at those who can afford Concorde, but don't need its speed.
Great, thanks so much. For a second. I don't think so.
MGM has applied for New York to Stansted rights and wants to start a service this autumn.
So, we should get into New York later tonight, midnight, and I've got a car to take us to the hotel.
With its 35 air-to-ground telephones, fax facilities, and unrivaled luxury, MGM offers travel in the grand manner. Prices are pretty grand too. The airline has linked up with Concorde to offer one-way Los Angeles to London flights, including a Manhattan hotel, for a cool £2,511. Sam Goldwyn would have been delighted.
Back here at Farnborough, the organisers got themselves a problem because the Antonov was due to go off just about 5 o'clock, but it's still nose up, and instead they've substituted a couple of the Sikorsky helicopters that were meant to be on a little bit later on. And talking of helicopters, it really is a great way to go flying, and there is one man in the world who has made it possible for literally thousands of people to enjoy rotary aviation. He's Frank Robinson. He's not a large corporation. He's got a family firm in Torrance in California, and his R-22, available for just over £70,000, seats 2 people, does over 100 miles an hour, and it has sold currently worldwide over 1,500 craft. Well, we'll see the R-44, the new one, in a moment, but let's catch up with the 22.
I wanted to have an aircraft that was very simple to operate, so you didn't have to have your own maintenance staff to take care of it. One that was low cost, efficient, and of course reliable. I believe that the helicopter has gained in popularity, and a lot of people are interested in helicopters that would not be interested in light airplanes. And we've been able to take advantage of that. Actual operating cost of the R-22 in terms of cost per mile is really not that much greater than that of a fairly expensive automobile. Well, when the R-22 became available, because it was in a lower cost range, a lot of people started to learn to fly helicopters that had not done so before. And we found that the training that was being given by actually the majority of the flight schools was inadequate, and that the pilots were not being properly trained, and that combined with the temptation of a new pilot to show off and attempt things that were really beyond his capability did lead to quite a number of pilot accidents. We instituted a safety program which we required all of the flight instructors to come through at the factory, a 3.5-day program, who in turn would train the pilots. And we started that a number of years ago, and it has had a very positive effect in reducing the pilot error accidents. As far as the aircraft themselves are concerned, the number of accidents which are aircraft related are extremely low, less than 10%, perhaps even as low as 5%. So the pilot is really the key, and as long as the pilots have a good attitude and are properly trained, the accident rate with helicopters can be as low or lower than it is with any other type of aircraft. Gradually over the years, the R-22 acceptance has greatly increased, and now it has become the basic trainer in the non-military arena throughout the world. And with good instruction, it has proven to be a reliable and safe aircraft. The logical progression from the R-22 is to a slightly larger aircraft, one capable of carrying 4 people instead of just 2. And we have designed the R-44, which is a 4-place helicopter. The design is similar to the R-22, but it's an all-new design because everything is, of course, much larger. And we have been testing that aircraft since the end of March and are actively progressing with the FAA certification of the aircraft. Hopefully it will be certified and available on the market in 2 or 3 years. Well, the R-44 has to, of course, carry 4 people. The gross weight's 2,350 pounds, empty weight's 1,350, which gives you a useful load of 1,000 pounds. And of course, we are not that far along in the certification program to have actually defined all of the specifications. But in general, it would be similar to the R-22, except that it is faster. So far, the test program with the R-44 has been going quite well. Just about everything has been very close to what was predicted. And we've had no real serious surprises with it, and it has gone quite well. I like to fly the aircraft, the experimental aircraft, for several reasons. One, of course, I know the aircraft probably better than anyone else. So as you're testing a new experimental type of aircraft, you're constantly looking for any of the characteristics that might tell you of a problem. And by knowing the aircraft very well, I would be probably more able to spot that than another test pilot would be able to do. I enjoy flying it. It's sort of a fun aircraft to fly. It has exceptionally good performance and good general handling characteristics.
And if you fancy one of these for your back garden helipad, you'll have to wait for 2 or 3 years while the R-44 goes through stringent certification procedures here and in the USA. And you'll also have to save up around £200,000.
Back at Farnborough, Noel, the first appearance of the civil version of the EH-101, a joint venture between Westland and Agusta of Italy. The heliliner can carry 30 passengers, and its very high safety margins make it an attractive proposition for operation to the North Sea oil rigs. Also, the hope is that its low noise levels will make it environmentally acceptable as a city centre transport. Their chief test pilot is Colin Haig.
We've got 3 engines, we have things like 3 hydraulic systems, we have 3 generators, and a massive increase in the design philosophy to make sure that everything is working correctly on the aircraft, and you have something as a standby system if that were to go wrong.
It has a brand new and revolutionary anti-vibration system designed by Westland, the ACSR.
The ACSR, the Active Control Structural Response, is a system that actually monitors the vibration and puts in a small antiphase to cancel it out at its source. And so the vibration is not transmitted from the rotor down to the fuselage, and that's what's on at the moment. Really, as far as the pilot's concerned, he now has a switch in the cockpit, which is effectively his vibration on-off. And that really is the next century's equivalent of the hardware that we've been mounting on the rotor head for the last 10 years or so, just to do the same job. We're into the microchip age with this piece of kit.
This system, which could well have application in other fields where vibration is a problem, is demonstrated during the course of a test flight.
ACSR is coming off. 3, 2, 1, now. And the cockpit environment is moving all around me. The instrument panel starting to vibrate a little bit more, and the general feel on the whole of the aircraft is much more comfortable, not just for me, but for all the components as well, of course.
I took the opportunity during my flight of asking Colin if no tail rotor technology could be applied to helicopters as large as the heliliner.
Perhaps theoretically, yes, it will do, John. I was flying it myself this morning. In years to come, maybe it can be scaled up like that. We're working with McDonnell Douglas on going to the medium-sized helicopter. But just as a matter of interest, that particular helicopter, the Hughes 500, the power that's going through the main rotor on that one is about the same as the power that's going through the tail rotor on this helicopter. So you've almost got another helicopter mounted on its side on the back of this one. That's an indication of the scaling problem that we'll have to overcome.
Here comes the Harrier GR1, an aircraft of Hawker descent, which has joined its illustrious ancestor, the Hurricane, in the hearts and minds of the nation. after its gallant performance in the Falklands. For the first time, a pilot's eye view of the GR5 in flight. The raised canopy improves visibility greatly. Also, the vastly improved cockpit instrumentation and head-up display are clearly visible. This display by pilots from No. 1 Squadron, RAF Wittering, is led by their squadron commander, Wing Commander Ian Harvey. No. 1 Squadron is the oldest military flying unit in the world. Its origins going back to a balloon unit of the Royal Engineers, formed in 1912. It was also the first squadron to be equipped with Harriers. Their motto, in all things first. All its history has been earned as a fighter squadron of the highest credentials. Another feature of the GR5 is its much improved stability augmentation system, which takes a lot of the effort out of the flying. Very clearly demonstrated in the smooth precision of this display, which is unique to Farnborough. What Harrier is all about, a high-speed jet inching over the ground. The aircraft has a much greater wing area and bigger flaps. This improves lift during the transition to the hover, reducing the load on the engine. The GR5 is a single-seat, close support and reconnaissance aircraft and will be supplemented by the GR7 night attack aircraft, where the pilot will be equipped with night vision goggles. Many of the redesigned features of the GR5 are clearly visible: the bubble canopy, shorter nose and larger intakes. The outrigger wheels have been moved inboard from the wingtips. By the way, the team's manager and commentator is Flight Lieutenant Simon Mead, who was last year's Hawk display pilot, and he, the lucky chap, is off to join the Red Arrows.
Wonderful pilot's eye view there, and the defence park is certainly full of military hardware here at Farnborough. But a quick look around will tell you that the civil airliners aren't here. Qantas flew through with their big 747-400, and Concorde was here on Friday. But no doubt the major manufacturers are now concentrating on their replacements for the DC-10s and the TriStars. Boeing have yet to launch their 777, an aircraft so large that it's rumoured its wings are going to fold up so it can park. The MD-11 is being air tested at the moment, and of course Airbus are assembling the 330 and 340.
In 20 years, Airbus industry has come from nowhere to number 2 in the world's big jet league. Its A320 fly-by-wire twin-jet, seen here displaying its stall-defying state-of-the-art technology, has become the fastest-selling jetliner in history. Since its launch 6 years ago, 705 have been sold. From its final assembly plant in Toulouse, the consortium also produces the larger A300 and A310 types, which lead the wide-bodied twin-jet field, leaving Boeing an irritated second. Next member of the Airbus family is the A340, due to enter airline service in late 1992. A cabin mock-up shows off a cruise ship approach to life aboard, with a bar for pleasure and a fully equipped airborne office, complete with fax and computers for business. New-look galleys are planned, and given the aircraft's 7,000-mile range, so are crew rest quarters, with a captain's cabin looking exactly that. The long-reaching A340 will be the first type from Airbus with 4 engines. However, it's back to the big twin when the A330 joins the family in 1993. With 207 orders already, it looks like Europe's big jet stable has bred 2 more winners. Yuma, the Arizona desert, 110 degrees in the shade. McDonnell Douglas, the elegant MD-11. the MD-11 is being tested to full certification. First deliveries are due this year, but it's still experimental, and television access is a rare privilege. As systems are checked throughout the aircraft, on the flight deck, former RAF exchange pilot John Miller, doing for the MD-11 what he once did for the C-5A Galaxy.
When we went into this program, we decided that we would make an aircraft that was better than the DC-10 in every respect, with less crew workload. That was a pretty tall order because the DC-10 was already considered to be one of the finest flying airplanes in the inventory, and had very little workload attached to it anyway. But as a matter of fact, we've achieved our goal. The airplane does fly very, very well indeed.
We'll continue down to where we'll get an automatic autopilot disconnect at 100 feet. We'll do a go-around at 80 feet. And missed approach instructions? Missed approach is straight ahead to 9, John. Okay, got it. Localize your activity, track. Cap. Roger, done. Low capture. On course at 1.5 diamond slow at 350 feet. On course, on glide path at 250. 200. Approach only. Coming up on autopilot disconnect. Now.
On the go.
Okay. We had a unexplained level off there at several hundred feet altitude, and we didn't see any misperformance in the autopilot there. It just decided to level off. Can you explain that, HP?
As we've just seen, even in the best of tests, computers go wrong. Can they be trusted?
Certainly, we do trust the computer. However, our fundamental strategy in this airplane in every respect is that we provide the pilot with every level of safety, including dual levels of safety for speed control and all of his systems control. But we have also a basic requirement that in our aircraft, the pilot can always intervene over the computer and perform whatever action he thinks appropriate. And the computer, though it will protect him and help him, will not prevent him from doing what he thinks is right. I've always been a little nervous about this right stuff business, but certainly the pilot is sitting in the cockpit because he has a great deal of experience. And the computer should support the pilot. It should not prevent the pilot. The pilot would not be chosen to fly that airplane if he had not got what was considered to be the right stuff. And the right stuff includes the right equipment. And the equipment should support him, not prevent him. We don't want to totally inhibit the pilot from doing what he has judged to be the right thing to do when he looks out the window and sees a condition developing. He will react to that condition as his many, many years of experience have prepared him to do so, and that is the reason why he's sitting in that seat. And we don't want to zero out that and make him into an arcade player.
Well, back at Farnborough, there's plenty of the right stuff around with the MiG-29. Called Fulcrum, it's an agile, all-weather fighter which can fly at more than twice the speed of sound.
Designed to counter America's F-16 Falcons and F-18 Hornets, it's been in service with the Soviet Air Force since 1985 and figures prominently in the air forces of India, Syria and Iraq, where it promises to be a formidable opponent. Flying control surfaces are operated hydraulically rather than the fly-by-wire computerized technology of the F-16.
Ironically, for an aircraft designed to challenge the West for air superiority, it now has an enviable reputation as an air display crowd pleaser and is now the sharp edge of Soviet goodwill and glasnost. In Iraqi service, of course, it remains positively unfriendly. While the Fulcrum has been show-stealing for the past 2 years, its star performer reputation has itself been stolen this year by its Soviet stablemate, the Sukhoi Su-27, which stunned crowds at last year's Paris Air Show, where it was seen for the first time in the West. Now, performing at Farnborough for the first time, the jet belongs to the same generation as the MiG-29, but it's larger and equal in both size and mission to the McDonnell Douglas F-15.
Pilots are just as impressed as the public by its staggering maneuverability. Just watch Chief Display Pilot Evgeny Frolov demonstrate the incredible snakebite maneuver. He closes the throttle, pulls back hard on the stick, and then lets it weathercock into level flight.
Oh, that looks more like a striking Cobra, I think.
It's never been tested in war, of course, but I know that more than a few Western pilots are relieved that the chances of an aerial confrontation now seem remote.
This really is the big one. The world's largest aircraft, the Russian Antonov An 225 at Farnborough for the first time. As further evidence of glasnost, the crowds have been allowed to swarm all over it and kick each of its 32 towers. It would just about fit into Wembley Stadium, and a party for 500 in the cargo hold, no problem. It'd be nice to see the Red Arrows up with this lady, and test pilot Alexander Galanenko suggested this week they're welcome to display inside my plane. It'll have to be a tight display.
Before its maiden flight in December 1988, the 225 stablemate, the AN-124 Ruslan, was the world's biggest aeroplane. This aircraft was developed from that and is designed to carry piggyback loads like the Soviet space shuttle. There's now a plan to carry the British Aerospace HOTOL space plane. And as a result of that, British Aerospace have helped to foot the huge fuel bill this week.
Well, thank goodness we got those pictures of the Antonov earlier in the week, because here on this Sunday afternoon at Farnborough, it's still well and truly grounded. Red Arrow's coming in just a moment, but of course this Saturday is the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, and there's a huge fly past over London, isn't there, John?
There certainly is. It's going to be led by a Spitfire, and it's going to be followed by 6 further formations, over 165 aircraft. That's going to be at about noon, and in the evening, at around 7:30 in the evening, British Airways' own tribute to the Battle of Britain is going to consist of 3 Concords in a Vic formation, flying over the middle of London at 1,500 feet, and I'm going to be in the number 2.
Have fun. It's going to be spectacular and poignant. This Saturday on BBC television, you can see it. The airshow favourites now, the Red Arrows.
Yeah. The squadron itself is different every season, for 3 members of the team move on after completing a 3-year tour of duty. Rod Curling met Red 1, the boss, squadron leader Tim Miller.
Well, I'm off to do something completely new, actually, and I'm leaving the service after some 19 years in November. So I'm going into the commercial world, basically.
Are you? How very dull for you.
Yes.
What have your highlights of this last year of yours been?
Well, apart from climbing up the ladder to get up here to be interviewed in the gale, I'd probably say landing at Leningrad for the first time when we went to the Soviet Union. First time any team has ever been to the Eastern Bloc, and that was probably the biggest highlight this year, yes. We displayed in Kiev a couple of times, but it was great. It was good fun.
Any new formations here this year?
Yes, we've named one new formation actually after a Soviet fighter called the Flanker. We thought it'd be a sort of nice gesture considering we're going across the Soviet Union.
flying on the left of the formation is Red 5, Deputy Leader Dom Riley.
Dominic, you fly the number 5 aircraft. What are your memories of your time at the Arrows? You must have had a few nasty incidents.
Not in formation or in flying at all, no. I had a moment a month or so back where I had a bird strike doing a fly past the British Open and lost the engine and had to force land at a nearby Air Force station in Scotland, which is quite handy.
Now, what if something like that happened while you were flying in formation?
Same sort of, we were in fact in close formation, but we weren't doing a display. All that happens is your engine quits, so you drop off the back of the formation, and where possible, you force land it on some concrete.
And here are the synchro pair, very much at the heart of this season's display, Flight Lieutenant John Newton and Flight Lieutenant Steve Johnson. Steve is the leader, and he's also the only Red Arrows bachelor.
Now, Steve, you are the leader of the synchro pair. What's the leader's role?
Well, that's to control the performance and the crossing of the synchro pair and trying to coordinate the show with the leader, Tim, to make sure we get everything in the right place.
Any new manoeuvres for the two of you?
Yes, we put something in this year that we've called the revolver. We did something similar last year, but what we basically do is both roll upside down at the same time to end up in line of stern upside down, which is quite exciting.
That's it from Farnborough International, but we'll be back on Thursday evening with our final report and an in-depth look at the fight between America and Europe to supply the British Army's new combat helicopter and the deeper transatlantic conflict over the next generation of big passenger jets and the engines to power them. That's on BBC2, Thursday at 8:25.
Sunday night on One finds Compo, Clegg and Foggy taking tea.